Hello my fellow aliens, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jojo Rarity. And look at my new hoodie, it's Spider-Man. Because in today's video, I'm gonna be ranking all the Spider-Man movies. Before I got into this video, I'm gonna say it's not spoiler-free, because of course I'm gonna be talking about everything, including death and so on. So if you didn't watch every movie, or don't want to hear anything, then don't watch it. So, because you're gonna get spoiled. First of all, I'm gonna say I loved all the Spider-Man movies. I love all the Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield. And Tom Holland. I just love all the movies also.
Hold this for a second. Thanks. Hey, buddy. No! Shouldn't steal cars, it's bad.
But of course, some I like better than some others. So let's start with the ranking. Overall, there are like 8 movies of Spider-Man. Can you imagine, for a Spider-Man fan, we've got 8 movies? Even more actually, because Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man is also in other movies of MCU. By the way, we also have the Spider-Verse, but I didn't include it because animation and not really related to it. So let's start. And on number 8 is Spider-Man 3. So and the reason why it's so low on my list is because, let's face it, it's really not the best Spider-Man movie out there. So like I totally hate it, but come on, compared to other Spider-Man movies, it's one of the worst. And also, it has the best memes. Like the Dark Spider-Man, hello? Like there's so many funny parts and so many... Look, the movie has like too many storylines, like too many villains. First of all, there's Sandman, who's not really a villain later on. You know, it's only like, want to save his daughter. And also, of course, we have Venom. They introduced Venom in this movie. And then also the new Green Goblin. And it's James Franco. And hello, there's like so many villains going on. And also like the storyline was like so confusing, like to put everything together. Should do only like Venom is the villain or only Green Goblin is the villain, not everyone at once. It's like too much going on. That's why the movie wasn't so good. Like, I'll just talk about Venom, like Eddie Brooks' character. I think they choose the wrong actor for this. I mean, Topher Grace. I mean, yeah, he is kind of like that in the comics also. He's kind of jealous of Peter Parker, right? And so, of course, he was like mad at him and so on. But I think it didn't do a good job. Like, if you compare it to, of course, Tom Hardy's Venom, Tom Hardy's such a good Venom. Like, and also good Eddie Brooks. So compared to him, he really was a worst Venom. And only the good part in this movie, I think, was James Franco's Green Goblin, because I love James Franco in the Spider-Man movies. I love Harry Osborn, but I think he did have more potential. It's because like he was like, I love the part when he lost his memory, he was like nice again, but later on it was bad. But they should focus it a little bit on more on him or more on Venom. It's like there's too many storylines at once. It's like we didn't have to be. That's why I think it's like the worst one on my list. And of course, Annie was so sad when he died. So number 7 on my list is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Actually, I always loved Amazing Spider-Man. I always was a fan already before No Way Home, because I know everybody loved suddenly Andrew Garfield Spider-Man because of No Way Home, but I always loved him in Amazing Spider-Man, especially the first part. Like, the second time I watched Amazing Spider-Man 2, it wasn't that bad that I imagined. Because people say it's the worst movie ever. But it really wasn't that bad. It's just like, I hated that Gwen died. It was the most saddest ever. And I hated when it happened. That's why I never can watch it without crying. It's always so sad. And also, it's like too many things going on. It's almost like Spider-Man 3 if you think about it. They have like Electro, the main villain actually. And again, they have Harry Osborn, the Green Goblin, and they introduced Harry Osborn, by the way, Dane DeHaan, right? And I actually liked him as Harry. I know people hated him, but he wasn't really a bad Harry. I think he had more potential to it. But yeah, it's like too much also going on. Like they should only focus on Electro or Harry Osborn's Red Green Goblin. And in 2 movies, it didn't do justice for Harry Osborn. I just realized. So yeah, so it wasn't really that bad. I liked the music they included and everything. And of course, I love still the chemistry between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. So seeing her, that was like the worst thing they ever did. I mean, I know she died in the comics, but it's just so sad. It's just sad ending also, because we never get to see part 3 also, like after he dealt with her death. And also Harry Osborn wanted to do like the Sinister Six, kind of, because in the end he was still alive, right? And also, let's talk about the ending. Like Rhino, I know it's like kind of like introduction to the new movie they wanted to do, but it was so funny. The ending didn't really fit at all. But overall, as I said, it's not really the worst movie ever. But like, as I said, I think it's also just too sad to be watching it. Number 6 is Far From Home, the new one with Tom Holland. And there's a reason why I don't like this movie that much is because of Jake Gyllenhaal. I really don't like the actor, so when I heard he's gonna be in the MCU, I was like, oh no, why? They chose him. And also Mysterio, everyone knows he's a villain, right? I mean, you know, in the comics, so it wasn't really shocking to find out, oh no, he's the villain. But also, of course, I like some parts of it. First of all, it's the first movie after Endgame. Like, after Iron Man died. It was so sad. I remember watching it in the theaters, and then, like, the beginning was already talk about Iron Man, and that's why it was of course so hard for Peter Parker to kind of fill his shoes, right? Because like Iron Man kind of found him and everything, and so after Endgame it was hard for him to cope, of course, because first of all he saved the world, and then after that, like what else can he do? Like that's, yeah, it was kind of hard for him. So of course I liked some parts of it. Oh, I like the part when MJ found out that he's Spider-Man. It's kind of cute at the time. It's kind of reminded me of the Amazing Spider-Man when Gwen found out. Kind of different because MJ already kind of knew. It's so funny because she was kind of not really 100% sure that he is Spider-Man, but kind of knew it because she was always like watching him because she liked him. So I also loved the two together, of course. It was like sweet because now suddenly he likes her, right? Because in the first movie, he had a different crush. So overall, it's not really a bad movie, but not the best Spider-Man movie. And also the ending was the most, oh my god, that when Mysterio revealed that he is Peter Parker and the whole world knows in the end. When J.J. Jameson showed up, I was like, wait a minute, isn't he from the first Spider-Man movie? Right? I kind of wasn't sure, but later on I kind of searched it and said like, oh my god, it was him. It's so fun to see him there. Like, what? Did the multiverse already started? Or what? So yeah, the ending was like such amazing also, like to see what's gonna happen next. So number 5 is also with Tom Holland, Homecoming. Hey, oh, let's go. I love the beginning, it was so funny. I mean, it's like one of my favorite it's one of my favorite MCU movies. I mean, if you watch my other Marvel videos, it's like my number 2 spot, I think. One of my favorite MCU movies because I think they did it so good. I also love the music they included and everything. The beginning was so funny, and also it's not really introduction, right? Because we already get to see Spider-Man in Civil War. It's the first time we knew that he's gonna be Spider-Man, and this was the first movie of Tom Holland, which I was so excited to see because, as I said, I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man. So I think the movie was really good. And I think the main reason people wanted to watch it is because Iron Man is in the movie, right? Everyone loves Iron Man. I wanted to see it. One reason I didn't like this movie was that Iron Man was involved, because I'm not a huge Iron Man fan. So why was he there? It's like, is it an Iron Man movie or a Spider-Man movie? It's like, I know that he found him and everything, and I know he's only a kid, but still it was kind of annoying to see him always like help him out. I know you only want to help, but there's also one part that I liked. It was almost like the ending, I think. Remember when he said to him, like, if you think you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have the suit. And then the part where he was alone, Iron Man wasn't there to help him, and he thought he couldn't make it, but he did. I think it was the best part, and also the best acting of Tom Holland I saw in this movie, and I think it was so pure and so true, and it was really good. So then he knows that he can do it without a suit on, because he's actually strong, right? And you just have to believe in himself and thinking he can do it. than he can without the suit also. And that's why I think this was a precious moment in the movie. Also, Vulture was a good villain, actually. He carried the movie. I like the act. I like Michael Keaton, by the way. And so it was really good to see him shine in that role. And also, you don't get to see the last of him, I think, because I know he's in Morbius. So I know what he's doing there, but I already know he's going to be there. So let's see what else they have in store for us. And also, of course, I still love this movie. But still, it's like on my number 5 spot. On to my top number 4. And I was kind of debating, and you asking why I was debating, because I know people will hate me for this. I was thinking of putting actually the Amazing Spider-Man in number 4, and then number 3 Spider-Man 1. But then when I talked about it, I realized I kind of liked Amazing Spider-Man a little bit more. And I don't care if you hate me or not, because yeah, I think I kind of like it more. But first of all, let's talk about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So of course, I love this movie because of nostalgia reasons. I was so young when the movie came out. The first movie came out 2002, right? So I was like only 9 years old. So I don't know if I watched it in the cinemas, by the way, because I was like still young. But I remember maybe the part 2 I watched. But anyway, I loved the movie so much. I watched it so many times. I really loved, because of him, I love Spider-Man, the character, because I really loved everything. Even I think the music is the best in the original Spider-Man. I think still the best music ever. Always makes me so cry. Always like so good to hear. I think the Amazing Spider-Man doesn't have good music that much. It's like, I mean, forgettable, not so memorable. But also the Tom Holland Spider-Man also have good music. I think it's also one of the good music. But yeah, so of course I still love it. I always remember how cringy sometimes Tobey Maguire is as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I mean, he's a good Peter Parker more than Spider-Man. And Spider-Man was kind of too serious. And maybe that's why Amazing Spider-Man is higher on my list. Because he's the perfect Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield. But of course, I love Tobey Maguire too, because it's like one of my childhood movies. But I was kind of so young. And so, in Amazing Spider-Man, I was kind of like a teenager. Let's talk about why I love this movie. I always had a huge crush on Harry Osborn's James Franco, because I really like him so much in the movie more than Peter Parker. And also, it's the best villain, Green Goblin. Come on, he's like the best villain ever created in Spider-Man universe. And I was so afraid of him because I was so young when I watched it. I was only a child. I was kind of scared of his part. I always remember it. But yeah, Willem Dafoe looks kind of creepy, even without the suit on, right? So I was kind of scared of him. But of course, movies really so good and everything. Like also, of course, the quote of Peter Parker's uncle, Ben. His quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." It's always like, I remember it so much, and always like the best quote ever. And people also wanted to copy this part because, I don't know, it's like such a nostalgia moment for everyone like who kind of grew up with this movie. And I think it's also one of my first Marvel movies, because I know X-Men, but I think I watched X-Men later on. So I think this was like kind of pivoted the Marvel movies, in my opinion, right? So yeah, before I didn't know like the Marvel, everything was also young, and so like I didn't know the comics and so on. But of course, I also grew up with the animation show. I always watched Spider-Man. Always loved the animation one also. And yeah, so that's the main reason why Spider-Man is actually one of my favorite superheroes. So number 3 is The Amazing Spider-Man 1. And let's talk about why it's higher than the first Spider-Man movie. I just think Andrew Garfield did such a good job in playing Spider-Man, because he was funny. I mean, Spider-Man is actually so funny, right? He always talks so much, and like kind of like in the comics or like in the animated show, he's kind of like more funny than serious kind of type. Like Tobey Maguire kind of portrayed him more in a serious role, but Andrew Garfield did the opposite. So I guess I love it so much. It's funny to say because before I didn't even like Andrew Garfield. When I found out he's gonna be the new Spider-Man after Tobey Maguire, I was like, also, oh no, I don't know, I'm gonna like it because I love Tobey Maguire so much as Spider-Man. Because I already know him before. I watched like Social Network and Never Let Me Go. I think he was already a popular actor before Spider-Man. Not because of Spider-Man became popular. It was already popular. So I was wondering why they chose him to play that role. It was also kind of popular. Even Emma Stone, I already know her from Zombieland. She was also quite popular too. But come on, I love that dynamic together, and the chemistry was just really so good to see that. And no wonder they got together in real life, because their chemistry is like unstoppable. And so mainly that's why I love it also. Like, it was just so good. I think it was a really good movie. And I think also maybe the storyline sometimes, but I think because Andrew Garfield is such a good actor, doesn't matter what the story's about, already played so good. Also, I love Aunt May, because the actress Sally Field is also a really good actress. So they really good choose really good actors to be in this movie. And she was also an amazing aunt. She played an amazing Aunt May. And of course Uncle Ben also is so similar with the other Uncle Ben, I think. And it was also, of course, so sad. And also the scene when he cries, almost like the same with Tobey Maguire when he lost Uncle Ben. But also kind of have also a backstory. We never get to see Peter Parker's parents, actually, or how they died. We never know. He always like been with his aunt and uncle. But there you gotta get to see even his parents and when he was younger and everything. It's also kind of interesting. And also, Peter Parker is smart. In this movie, they show it, because Peter Parker is actually also smart, but in other movies you don't get to see so much. But there I like kind of see that he wants to be a scientist or something. Also, when the first Spider-Man movie came out, I was so young, right? But then this movie came out, I was like the age Andrew Garfield was in the first movie. Because I'm 28 now, so when the movie came out, I was 18, so I was really a teenager just like him. I know he's 10 years younger than me and he played a teenager, but that's why kind of more relatable also, like how awkward he is and like with his first love and everything, kind of more relatable, because I'm like I was the age he was, and it was nice to see a superhero with the same age like me, like a teenager, and I was exactly that age that time. So yeah, so many reasons why I like this movie. And of course, don't get me wrong, I love, of course, the original Spider-Man. As I said multiple times, I love all the Spider-Man movies, but I think every time I rewatch it, always getting better and better, in my opinion. So I'm not like the one person who say after No Way Home I liked him, because I always liked the Amazing Spider-Man before. So of course I was so excited seeing them again. So if you put the nostalgia aside, give like the Amazing Spider-Man a try, because I think you only like Spider-Man the first ones because of nostalgia reasons. Because I know some people who are like so biased because they're like really the fan of Tobey Maguire, fanboys or something. They don't want to watch the new ones because they just love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, but they don't give it a try. I hate those people, because how can you say it's good or not if you don't even give it a try? I mean, I also gave Tom Holland a try, and I also love him because I said it also multiple times, he did a great job in playing both characters, Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So yeah, don't be so biased and just say that because you grew up with it or whatever, have to give it also other Spider-Man a try. So it was kind of hard to decide which one should be number one. I was also kind of debating because, let's face it, Spider-Man 2 is one of the best Spider-Man movies out there, right? I think you can agree with me on that. But also No Way Home is so hard, but I think I had to put Spider-Man 2 on number 2. Because like No Way Home is just so incredible. But I'm gonna be talking about the movie later on, of course. So yeah, why Spider-Man 2 is so good? Because Peter Parker is finally becoming the Spider-Man we know and love. And also the train scene, come on, one of the best scenes ever written. And also I just love the scene so much because again you get to see him how pure and really kind of, he's only a kid, right? And the people got to see him also there, that even though he's a superhero, also has his limits. So yeah, that's why the scene was like so incredible, and so I always remember it so much. And of course the villain, Doc Ock, was so good also. I think that's why the first Spider-Man trilogies are so good, is because they choose the best villains. First of all, Green Goblin, now Doc Ock. I mean, Venom is also not a bad villain, but just how to portray him. But I think that's why it's so good. And that's why it's always going to be the best Spider-Man movie still out there, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, and also like the action scenes were so good. Even the one part in Doc Ock was so scary. Also, my cousin said the Doc Ock scene was so scary for him when he watched it because he was also just a kid. And of course, the love story between him and MJ. Like, you're gonna get to see it more. And I love the love story also. I mean, people don't even like MJ, but sometimes I feel like bad for her. Because sometimes she's the one getting hurt because of him every time. Kind of feel so bad for her. Because I actually like Kirsten Dunst as MJ also. They have just a sweet chemistry also. And also, they kind of like each other when they were younger. And then later on, gonna blossom into something more. It was also kind of sweet to the storyline. So it was always the best movie for me until, let's talk about the number one spot. Of course, No Way Home. I can talk about it and finally I can spoil it for you guys. I always want to talk about this movie so much because I just love it so much. And the main reason is because Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are actually in this movie. I know there were so many theories. I never believe it like 100% if it's true or not. I was thinking like hopefully it's true. And I think that's the main reason why this movie is good. I think if they weren't in the movie, I would think otherwise. Don't get me wrong, the villains, to see all the villains back together was also pretty cool too. But the storyline was a bit sometimes, I don't know, over the place, how they did it. I don't know, but I don't even care if it's fan service or not, because I just love them being there and get to see 3 of the Spider-Man like you all grew up with. The best experience to witness in cinemas history ever, I think. Like, the first time I watched it, and Andrew came the first time, and people were like cheering, and yeah. And then Tom Mcguire with this music. Literally, I'm crying out because I cried so much watching the movie. Even the beginning, in the 10 first minutes, Murdoch showed up. I was like, oh my god, inside I was literally screaming. Because like, I loved that Devil so much. The show was so good. I was so sad when it got cancelled. But seeing him there, I thought, my sister said to me, okay, if that's already true, I think the other theories are also gonna be true. And it was. I was like screaming and I was so happy to see that happening. That's why I think it's number one, because first of all, Green Goblin is back, Doc Ock is back, Electro, we got CGI, Sandman and the Lizard, and of course the 3 Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man kinda outshined them all, even Tom Holland. I think it was the best part in the movie. He was also the funny one, and kinda like people kinda remember him. Mostly, even outshined Tom Holland, which kind of feels sad for him. But and suddenly people loved the Amazing Spider-Man movies and wanted to see more of it. I was like, hello, I was already at the beginning. Just now, because people like it suddenly just now. People were hating on him before. I was like, okay. And every time Tobey Maguire was on the screen, I always want to laugh because he's still the cringy Spider-Man we used to know. And it's so funny also when he hurt his back, right? And Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was helping him. It's so funny to see. The best part in this movie was, of course, it was so sad, but when he lost Aunt May, when she died, it was so sad. He lost all the hope because he lost someone he loves. And of course, in every movie, someone needs to die. It's kind of like another Spider-Man movie without it. And so then when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire came out to see him, and he was like so in grief, right? He just lost his aunt. And then he said, you don't know how I feel. And then they said, they know exactly how he feels because we actually experienced it with them. I mean, Toby lost, of course, Uncle Ben. And we saw him die. Also, Gwen's death was the most hardest. That also we got to see. So of course they also felt the same way like he did. So they're the only ones who can understand him, what he's going through. So the time when they came was really important for him because he lost all the hope and suddenly they came to him and kind of want to help him out because they're the only ones who can understand what he's going through. Oh my god, like the first villain we got to see was Doc Ock, right? Then this green fireball came, then it's Green Goblin. They didn't show him yet, but then to see them two together, also seeing all the villains kind of talk to each other and interact to each other was so funny to see also. And yeah, it was like so cool to see that. And also, wait, haven't you talked about Doctor Strange yet? So yeah, Doctor Strange was there, right? He did the spell and everything because he wanted to do a selfless thing because Ned and MJ kind of lost their college, right? They couldn't go to the college because everyone knows he's Peter Parker. I mean, everyone knows he's Spider-Man. So it's kind of like he wanted to fix it for them. He was thinking about them, of course, more about them than himself. So then Doctor Strange did his spell, and then that's how it happened. Everyone came because everyone who knows Peter Parker as Spider-Man kind of came to this universe. It kind of was like a multiverse, right? And of course we already knew that's gonna happen because we knew the villain's gonna be appearing. And so that was the storyline they're going for. And so we know they're gonna appear because of the trailers. Actually, I wanted to avoid the trailers so I won't get spoiled. But then when I go to cinemas, they always show trailers. So I already saw it, like Doc Ock and everything. I already saw it, but yeah, so it's just amazing, right? To see like everyone being back together and the new Spider-Mans and everything. Just amazing. And also, it's like, especially for my generation, like people my age now, because we grew up with all the movies, right? I know I'm not that old yet, but I also grew up with Tobey Maguire's movies. And also, of course, with Andrew Garfield movies, I was just a teenager. And then, of course, with Tom Holland, I followed it still because he's in MCU now. And so it's kind of more like people for our age, because like the young ones who kind of grew up with Tom Holland movies, maybe they watched it, of course, but they came to watch like the older ones later on because of this movie. It's kind of different, but for us, it's kind of more feels for us, right? Because we grew up with all the movies, and then to see it together, coming all together, was more amazing for us, I think, in my opinion. It's not like you can't be a fan if you're young, but of course, it's like we kind of grew up with it. So that was amazing feeling for us. Let's talk about the future of Spider-Man, because the ending was so sad, right? Doctor Strange he had to undo the spell so everyone forget who he is. I mean, couldn't they forget that he's Spider-Man? But they even forget Peter Parker, which is so sad because no one knows him. First of all, he lost May, and he can't talk with anyone about it because everybody doesn't know him, even Happy. And also, of course, he lost MJ, Ned, they don't know him anymore. It's just a sad ending, but he did it for them. Because Peter Parker is that selfless person and he did it for them. So, and Anne is all alone. So, what's gonna be the future of Spider-Man? I don't know, there's like so many rumors that Tom Holland wants to do another 3 movies in the MCU. But then I'm so confused because there's other rumors that he wants to take a break. And he said also he doesn't want to play Spider-Man in his 30s or something. So I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know what's in the future of Spider-Man, but I do know maybe Spider-Man 3 gonna return, because many people talk about the rumor also with Venom, that Venom is in his universe or something. Because of course we get to see also new Venom, right? I think it's gonna be part 3. I don't know where it's gonna show up, because everybody loves Tom Hardy and the movies were successful also. The only way they can make Venom 3 even better is when he's gonna meet Spider-Man. Because if you watch the end credit scene, he says, let's go to New York and speak with Spider-Man. So I don't know which Spider-Man is gonna be, but people were like hoping Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because also in the Morbius trailer kinda hinting about Spider-Man. So I don't know, because like Morbius also kinda dark, right? And also in the same universe as Venom actually, because he mentioned Venom, so he knows Venom. So I don't know. But one movie I'm looking forward to is the new Spider-Verse movie, like the part 2, right? It's gonna be this year, I think. I'm so excited for that because Spider-Verse, like the first movie was so good also. Get to see other Spider-Man. And so I can't imagine how they're gonna top 2, except if Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield or whatever come back as voiceovers. Who knows, because it's only animation, so maybe they can do that. I think that was it. Comment down below what you think of my ranking, or comment down below your ranking. Like, what do you think is the best Spider-Man movie, or who is the best Spider-Man for you guys? Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Also give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to put the post notifications so that exactly when I upload every Saturdays and Wednesdays. So guys, see you on my next video. Bye.